Chicago a connu un été trouble. Les rues se sont embrasées à chaque nouvelle histoire de bavure policière. Les manifestants veulent réformer la police, la définancer ou même l'abolir.
Why abolish the police? Why the f*** not?
Et ce qui est particulier à Chicago, c'est que parallèlement aux manifestations, la ville a aussi vécu l'un des étés les plus sanglants de son histoire.
Police say this mass shooting was gang-related.
16 people killed this weekend. 3 of them were children.
Dans un contexte où il y a plus de 550 meurtres depuis le début de l'année seulement, comment on fait pour repenser la place de la police?
Not just black people are tired.
No peace!
You cannot have a civilized society without law and order. You just can't.
We need police.
Can you back up, please?
What better time to be a police officer than the most challenging time in the history of policing?
On décrit souvent Chicago comme l'une des villes où la ségrégation raciale est la plus marquée. Les Blancs et les Noirs habitent des quartiers séparés. La majorité des Noirs vit dans les quartiers les plus pauvres, les plus violents et où la police intervient le plus. En fait, les Afro-Américains constituent 30 % de la population de Chicago, mais représentent 50 % des victimes de meurtres et 75 % de toutes les arrestations faites par la police.
No peace! No peace!
Christopher Brown, c'est un photographe qui réside dans un quartier durement touché par la criminalité. Ce qui l'empêche pas d'être de toutes les manifestations qui dénoncent la brutalité policière.
Like, I'm 28 right now. I've been flagged down by the police at least 20 times since I was like 10. The earliest was I'm walking with my grandfather around the park where I used to live, and I decided to take a piss on a tree, and the police put me in handcuffs. The moment for me where I started really organizing heavy was the video for Laquan McDonald had been released.
Lorsque les images de la mort de Laquan McDonald, 17 ans, ont été diffusées, les manifestations se sont multipliées. Un policier a tiré sur lui 16 fois alors qu'il s'éloignait. L'agent Jason Van Dyke a été reconnu coupable de meurtre non prémédité.
Are people scared always of the police, or?
Over here they are. In black and brown communities they are.
What is defund the police? What is abolishing the police? What does it mean?
You put the money back into the community. Like, you create programs that legit help the community.
There could be domestic violence, rape, murders even. So what do we do then?
Yes, there should be a group of individuals or a team or a business created to, like, you know, deal with that type of thing. Like, that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, shit, I want to live somewhere and be safe. Why can't it be another type of situation or another type of organization?
Déployer moins de policiers, c'est pas un souhait partagé par tous. Dans un sondage national récent, 81 % des répondants afro-américains disaient vouloir autant ou plus de présence policière dans leur quartier.
Praise the Lord, everybody. Praise the Lord. We are excited to be here this morning, New Beginnings Church of Chicago.
On est allé dans le sud de la ville pour en parler avec le pasteur Corey Brooks.
Great day.
Question, where are we exactly?
Where we are right now has been called by some O Block. The Chicago Sun-Times wrote an article saying this was the toughest neighborhood in all of Chicago. So we've been working every summer, every year to make sure that that's different.
And some people have been saying, you know, we don't need police at all. We need like community-based programs instead of police. What's your point of view on that matter?
It's wishful thinking. I wish we could create a utopia where we don't need police, but that's not going to happen. We need community. We need police to help us keep law in our community, to make sure that people follow the law. I believe without a shadow of a doubt that Black Lives Matter movement has definitely been hijacked. And I
by
believe
whom?
By anarchists, by Antifa, by far, far left liberal organizations who really don't care about black communities. I realize that we cannot allow our distrust for a few police to ruin it for all police.
Contrairement à Los Angeles et New York, la ville de Chicago ne songe pas pour le moment à définancer la police. Mais en ce moment, la mairesse tente d'effectuer des changements dans la nouvelle convention collective des policiers pour faciliter le dépôt de plaintes citoyennes. Sauf que pour le syndicat, c'est l'équivalent d'un affront.
She's a dictator. Dictators don't like to be told anything.
They say that this union and police unions in general protect bad apples, bad policemen. The average criminal has more protections than the police officers that we represent.
La ville de Chicago a réglé des affaires d'inconduite policière en versant à des citoyens plus d'1 demi-milliard de dollars entre 2011 et 2018.
I mean, there were massive amount of money paid to citizens for police misconduct in Chicago. Is it a sign that something doesn't work?
We have a tendency to just want to settle. People make complaints.
But does police misconduct happen?
Sure. I mean, we're not naive enough to say, no, we're angels. No profession's filled with angels. Do we have work to do? Absolutely.
Les mouvements sociaux s'opposant à la brutalité policière, ça irrite John Catanzara. Il a déjà été réprimandé après avoir publiquement dénoncé d'autres policiers qui, eux, étaient solidaires des manifestants. Ces sorties lui ont d'ailleurs permis d'être remarqué.
I was just endorsed 2 days ago by Chicago police. I think that takes courage, right?
What do you think about, certain people advocating for defunding the police or even abolishing the police?
Stupid is the only word that comes to mind. I mean, it makes no sense. You cannot have a civilized society without law and order. You just can't. You actually have to spend more money, not less. It's not feasible. We clearly don't have enough officers now. The citizens need to understand that we are here to help. We did not create the laws that created a lot of these issues in these communities, whether it's unemployment, poverty. That's the politicians.
L'unanimité, ça n'existe pas non plus au sein des départements de police. D'ailleurs, il y a un policier qui a accepté de nous en parler pendant un de ses jours de congé. Julius Givens a claqué la porte de son syndicat parce qu'il ne partageait pas ses valeurs. Il faut préciser qu'il s'exprime en son nom personnel et pas au nom de son département.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done. Policing in the United States hasn't always been on the right side of history. There is no doubt that institutional racism exists within police departments across this country.
Julius est policier depuis 2 ans seulement, mais déjà ses prises de position font des vagues. Il tient un blog dans lequel il propose, entre autres, des idées pour réformer la police. Pour lui, la priorité, c'est de rétablir le lien de confiance avec la population.
Perception is reality. And if folks perceive us to not have their best interests, we don't have their best interests. That is a reality. And that's not good for the officer that's serving that community, and it's definitely not good for that community. There should be no reason that if you've got a copper that should not be on the streets, it takes you 2 or 3 years to get rid of it. That doesn't even make sense.
You seem pretty ready for change, right? But would you say that the police is ready for change as well?
It is difficult to teach old dogs new tricks, but we have no other choice. I mean, unless we start investing in resources, not just in making policing better, but in education, but in healthcare, but in after-school programs, that uphill battle that we're fighting gets steeper and steeper and steeper.
What's going on, man? Just cross and work back to them until they're done, and we'll cross Pulaski together.
Jarvis Buchanan, lui, n'a pas attendu d'obtenir une subvention pour mettre sur pied son projet Hood Heroes. Sa campagne de financement en ligne lui a permis d'offrir de petits salaires à des jeunes d'un quartier difficile pour nettoyer les rues du secteur.
Make the hood look good.
Most of those guys go home. If they're not hanging out at the dives and inside, most of those guys just go home. And so for me, I was like, oh, yeah, this is it. This is it. You're not outside walking around like waiting for something to happen, looking for trouble.
Do you think it would have an even more effective impact on violence rates and murder rates?
Yes. The more that you can get youth, you can get young men, young women to mobilize, to organize, to do something for a greater cause together, you're always going to reduce violence, reduce whatever.
Il espère maintenant qu'on investira dans des programmes communautaires comme le sien, plutôt que de payer pour davantage de surveillance policière.
The police, it definitely needs to be changed. The police department needs to be dedicated to serving the communities that they're in, and not just policing and patrolling those communities.
Aucun candidat à l'élection ne s'engage à définancer la police.
We have to give law enforcement, our police, back their power.
Mais l'idée d'une réforme de fond, elle, est évoquée par les démocrates.
The police, first of all, there has to be national standards that in fact apply to every police department in the country.
The George Floyd incident, as unfortunate as it was, I think ultimately will bring about effective change throughout.
I think the whole world is watching. And so for me, that makes me feel a bit more safe.
What is the reason why we keep going is the moment we stop is the moment people no longer care about these conversations. The moment we stop is the moment we no longer exist.
Prochain arrêt aux États-Unis, la Rust Belt. À voir bientôt sur toutes les plateformes de rad.